Bishop Peter Lazaro of the Archdiocese of Hartford, talking today about Communities of Salt and Light, which is an effort developed by our Catholic Bishops' Conference in 1993. It is designed to help parishes integrate Catholic social ministry into parish life. We do this because for many Catholics, our social justice ministry is like a spare tire that people use when the need arises. On the contrary, it should be a vital part of parish life. The text states, "We seek to build local communities of faith where our social teaching is central, not fringe, where social ministry is integral, not optional, where it is the work of every believer, not just the mission of a few committed people and groups." Consequently, we recognize the tremendous effort of parishes across the country and offer this resource to further what is already being done, as well as to show how to integrate social justice ministry into the pastoral efforts of a parish. Pope Francis is constantly telling the Church that we must move out into our communities and be salt, light, and leaven. Not to do so would render Pentecost vain. Please know that Communities of Salt and Light is not a program. Pastors hearing about this might say, "Oh no, not another program." Rather, it is a vision of Catholic social justice ministry as an indispensable component of parish life. Parish social ministry impels us to move out, assess the needs of the community, and respond to those needs, either as a parish or together with other parishes and faith communities, as well as those groups who think along the same lines as we do. We are inspired by Jesus, who saw needs and responded to them by healing the sick and feeding the hungry, for example. He was well aware of the rich prophetic tradition of his Jewish people. For example, in the book of Deuteronomy, God says, "I do justice for the widow and the orphan and befriend the alien, giving them food and clothing. Befriend the alien, therefore, because you once aliens in the land of Egypt, where you were mistreated." In other words, don't you treat aliens as you were treated in Egypt. We say our parish communities are measured by how they serve the least among us in our parish and beyond its boundaries. The parishes give food and clothing and furniture and make them places where all people, including undocumented aliens, can feel safe and accepted. We also advocate for justice through legislative action, such as writing letters to lawmakers and even visiting with them on issues such as abortion, capital punishment, assistance to the elderly, and to poor families. Our Office for Catholic Social Justice Ministry coordinates this work, providing expertise to develop parish leaders to carry on this work. Finally, in the video that follows, you will hear people of our Archdiocese of Hartford share their experiences on different aspects of parish social ministry. We hope that these concrete examples will prove helpful. Thank you.
The most important setting for the Church's social teaching is not in a food pantry or in a legislative committee room, but in prayer and worship, especially gathered around the altar for the Eucharist.
I'm Father James Manship, pastor of St. Rose of Lima Church in New Haven, Connecticut, and co-chair of Congregations Organized for New Connecticut Connect. My faith impels me into the world to work for justice, because I believe that's what the Eucharist calls me to do as a priest, to be able to celebrate the Eucharist, to be able to stand in the sanctuary, to be able to celebrate the sacraments for the Church. It's a way that Christ acts sacramentally, healing his Church and giving us the strength to be able to continue his healing work in the world today, repairing the relationships that have been corrupted and hurt and harmed, and therefore putting things right relationships, the work of justice.
We need to share and celebrate our common social heritage as Catholics, developing materials and training tools that ensure that we are sharing our social teaching in every educational ministry of our parishes.
My name's Lou Terzo. I go to St. Bridget Parish in Manchester, Connecticut, and I belong to an organization that's called Break the Cycle of Poverty. But really, the way my faith has really influenced me, I was a liturgy committee chair for like 12 years at St. Bridget. And I thought my faith journey was really there until I got involved with a program called Just Faith. And Just Faith is a 30-week social justice program, totally changed my life. And at the end of that 30 weeks, you're called to take some kind of action. Well, that kind of action was how we started Break the Cycle of Poverty. And that is a cycling group that goes around the state, and we talk about poverty awareness. And it just totally changed my life because I got involved with social justice, never thinking I'd ever be there. I was a little afraid of it. But it just is what Jesus has called us all to do, and it's a way of changing the world because we got to make the world a better place. There shouldn't be the poverty levels in the United States, the richest country in the world, and poverty levels in Connecticut, the richest state in the richest country. And that's one of the reasons why we do what we do, and that's why I participate in this group.
The most challenging work for justice is not done in church committees, but in the secular world of work, family life, and citizenship.
My name is Patrick Carolan. I'm the Executive Director of the Franciscan Action Network. We work very closely with the Office of Social Justice in the Archdiocese of Hartford on a number of issues, including climate change, ecological justice, justice for immigrants. I'm a parishioner at St. James Parish in Stratford, Connecticut, which is in a different diocese. I think when I think about how my faith has called me to work on justice, I often remember a story. My parents were immigrants. They came to America in 1950, and my mother always welcomed everybody into the neighborhood when people were moving in. And I often asked her why she would do that, and she said she did that because we're all immigrants, we're all God's children, this is God's land, and if we don't welcome the stranger into our homes, then God won't welcome us into his home. So I got that passion for social justice from my mother, and I've carried that forward. And I also got passion for my faith. And recently I've been, since working with the Franciscans, been able to connect my passion for social justice with my passion for faith. It's really, for me, it's just a blessing to be able to see going to Mass on Sunday and how that relates to social justice.
Parishes are called to reach out to the hurting, the poor, and the vulnerable in our midst in concrete acts of charity. Just as the Gospel tells us our lives will be judged by our response to the least of these, so too our parishes should be measured by our help for the hungry, the homeless, the troubled, and the alienated in our community and beyond.
My name is Bob Appicelli. I'm with Our Lady of Mount Carmel Parish in Hamden. I got started with I thought it was social justice, but I guess now I'm learning it's charity. We started with collecting food and donating it to St. Anne's Soup Kitchen and to a variety of other places, Catholic Worker and that kind of thing. And it moved from there to clothes, collecting clothes, and then beyond that, looking at some of the issues involving social justice and the neglect for just human compassion for other people. I got involved with human trafficking, which is something that right now is I guess if you say your passion, what you're really interested in, and it's, at this point in time it's that. We're still doing the food and the clothing, a few other things, but this is what we're doing. And our social justice group met, and it's kind of blossomed into the social combination of social justice groups from 5 churches in Hamden.
Parishes can lift up the moral and human dimension of public issues, calling people to informed participation in the political process.
My name is Guadalupe Lazaro, and I come from Ministry of Justice in Waterbury, Connecticut, and Sacred Heart Church. I learned about this from Arturo Diarte at a conference that we had here in Waterbury. And as I heard him talk, I felt the spirit that he had. I guess that made me want to get involved with it, get in my community and do something about it too. I went to a lot of rallies that we had in the churches, try to get people involved, try to make them do something for themselves to have a better life since they came here to get a better future. We did a lot of stuff. We went to talk to the mayors, legislators, representatives, senates, and to try to get positive outlooks in it. I believe that we got what we wanted, and I'm very happy that the fact that we have, because we did a lot of things, not just giving people a piece of paper saying, hey, you want this? No, we actually have to get out there and do something. We have to make our actions speak more than our words, not just letting people do stuff for us, because we're never going to get nowhere.
Many parishes are joining with other churches and groups to rebuild a sense of community in their own neighborhoods and towns. These church-based and community organizations are making a difference on housing, crime, education, and economic issues in local communities.
Okay, I'm Michael Mullaney. I'm a member of Caring Families Coalition, an organization that goes out into the community and does outreach for medical issues. We train, we support, and we organize. We have legislators come in and talk to us. We have DSS come in and talk to us. We go to the Capitol, we meet our legislators, we bring petitions, and we explain our issues.
Parishes need to be bridge builders, reminding us that we are part of a universal church with ties of faith and humanity to sisters and brothers all over the world. A key test of a parish's Catholicity is its willingness to go beyond its boundaries to serve those in need and work for justice and peace.
My name is Louise Riley. I'm the chair of the Social Justice Action Committee at St. Bridget's Parish in Cornwall Bridge, Connecticut. I actually got an MSW in social work a couple of years ago, and that kind of segued into being on the Social Justice Committee. And we've hosted 2 fair trade sales at our parish, because to see multinational corporations make all the money and see the artisans and the farmers in poor countries make next to nothing under very inhumane conditions calls out for justice, I think, from us. And it's a Christian way to take care of others and not to have them downtrodden and taken advantage of. And fair trade helps end the cycle of poverty and lifts families, especially women and children who are exploited, out of poverty, and helps them to sustain a life, a decent life, and provide educational opportunities, and everything springs from there. So I feel it's a real responsibility as a Christian to help take care of people instead of have them exploited.